One of my favorite jokes as we've been making these episodes of Forest of Secrets is that Fireheart actually thinks he's in some sort of crime-solving murder mystery story, and that it's all up to Detective Fireheart to crack the case. And so that idea is what inspired the artwork for today. I'm going to be reading to you guys now a bit from Forest of Secrets between pages 6 and 14. And so this is taking place 3 days after the battle with Wind Clan, River Clan, and Shadow Clan.
Fireheart!
Fireheart padded through the snow towards Tiger Claw, respectfully lowering his head, but conscious that the huge tabby's amber eyes burned into him. All of his misgivings about Tiger Claw flooded through him again. The deputy was strong, respected, and an outstanding fighter. But Fireheart knew that there was darkness in his heart.
You don't need to go out hunting again,
Tiger Claw growled as Fireheart approached.
Blue Star has chosen you and Gray Stripe to go to the gathering.
Fireheart's ears twitched with excitement. It was an honor to accompany the clan leader to the gathering, where all the 4 clans met in peace at the full moon.
You'd better eat now,
added the dark-coated deputy.
We leave at moonrise.
He began to stalk across the clearing to the high rock, where Blue Star the clan leader had her den. And then he paused and swiveled his massive head to look back at Fireheart.
Just make sure you remember which clan you belong to at the gathering,
he hissed. Fireheart felt his fur bristle as anger flared inside of him.
What makes you say that?
He demanded boldly.
Do you think I would be disloyal to my own clan?
Tiger Claw turned to face him, and Fireheart tried not to flinch at the menace in the cat's tense shoulders.
I saw you in the last battle.
The deputy's voice was a low growl, and his ears were flattened against his head as he spat.
I saw you let that River Clan warrior escape.
Fireheart winced, his mind flashing back to the battle in the Wind Clan camp. What Tiger Claw said was true. Fireheart had allowed a River Clan warrior to flee without a scratch, but not out of cowardice or disloyalty. The warrior had been Silverstream. Unknown to the rest of ThunderClan, Fireheart's best friend Graystripe was in love with her, and Fireheart could not bring himself to wound her. Fireheart had done his best to talk his friend out of visiting Silverstream, since their relationship went against the warrior code, and put both of them in grave danger. But Fireheart also knew that he would never betray Graystripe. Besides, Tiger Claw had no right to accuse any cat of disloyalty. He had stood at the edge of the battle, watching while Fireheart fought for his life against another River Clan warrior, and turned away instead of helping him. And that was not the worst accusation Fireheart could make against the deputy. He suspected Tiger Claw of murdering the former ThunderClan deputy, Redtail, and even planning to get rid of their leader himself.
If you think I'm disloyal, tell Blue Star,
he meowed challengingly. Tiger Claw drew back his lips into a snarl and dropped into a half-crouch, sliding out his long claws.
I don't need to bother Blue Star,
he hissed.
I can deal with a kitty pet like you.
He stared at Fireheart for a moment longer. Fireheart realized with a jolt that there was a trace of fear as well as distrust in the blazing amber eyes. Tiger Claw wonders how much I know, he thought suddenly. Fireheart's friend Ravenpaw, Tiger Claw's own apprentice, had witnessed the murder of Redtail. Tiger Claw had tried to kill him to keep him quiet, so Fireheart had taken him to live with Barley, a loner who lived near a two-leg farm on the other side of Wind Clan's territory. Fireheart had tried to tell Ravenpaw's story to Blue Star, but the clan leader had refused to believe that her brave deputy could be guilty of such a thing. As he glared at Tiger Claw, Fireheart's frustration returned. He felt as if a tree had fallen and pinned him to the ground. Without another word, Tiger Claw swung around and stalked away. As Fireheart watched him go, there was a rustling from inside the warrior's den, and Graystripe poked his head out through the branches.
What on earth are you doing?
He meowed.
Picking fights with Tiger Claw like that, he'll turn you into crow food.
No cat has the right to call me disloyal, Fireheart argued. Graystripe bent his head and gave his chest for a couple of quick licks.
I'm sorry, Fireheart,
he muttered.
I know this is all because of me and Silverstream.
No, it isn't, Fireheart interrupted. And you know it.
Tiger Claw is the problem, not you.
I'm going to be skipping ahead a little bit to avoid some of this internal monologuing. Fireheart seems to do that quite a lot, doesn't he? Tiger Claw entered, followed by Darkstripe and Longtail. All 3 of them glowered at Fireheart as they settled in a huddle closer to the center of the bush. Fireheart watched them through slitted eyes, wishing that he could make out their conversation. It was too easy to imagine that they were plotting against him. Fireheart's muscles tensed as he realized that he would never be safe within his own clan, while Tigerclaw's treachery remained a secret.
What's the matter?
Asked Graystripe, lifting his head. Fireheart stretched, trying to relax again.
I don't trust them,
he murmured, flicking his ears in the direction of Tigerclaw and the others.
I don't blame you,
yelled Graystripe.
If Tigerclaw ever found out about Silverstream and I,
he shuddered. Fireheart strained his ears to catch what Tigerclaw was saying. He thought he heard his own name, and was tempted to creep a little closer. But just then, he caught Longtail's eye.
What are you staring at, kitty pet?
Hissed the tabby warrior.
ThunderClan only wants loyal cats.
And Longtail deliberately turned his back on Fireheart.
Fireheart sprang to his paws at once. And who gave you the right to question our loyalty?
He spat. Longtail ignored him.
That does it!
Fireheart meowed in a fierce undertone to Graystripe.
It's obvious that Tigerclaw is spreading rumors about me. Yeah, but what can you do?
Graystripe sounded resigned.
I want to talk to Ravenpaw again.
Fireheart meowed.
He might remember something else about the battle. Something that I could use to convince Bluestar. But Ravenpaw lives at the Two-Leg Farm now. You'd have to go all the way across WindClan's territory. How would you explain being out of the camp for so long? It would only make Tigerclaw's lies seem like the truth.
Fireheart knew that he was willing to take the risk. He had never asked Ravenpaw for any details about how Redtail had died in the battle against RiverClan all those moons ago. At the time, it had seemed more important to get the apprentice out of Tigerclaw's way. But now, he knew that he had to find out exactly what Ravenpaw saw, because he was becoming more and more certain that his friend must know something that could prove just how dangerous Tigerclaw was to the clan.
I'll go tonight,
Fireheart mewed softly.
After the gathering, I'm gonna slip away. If I bring back fresh kills, I can always say I was hunting. You'll be taking a big risk,
meowed Graystripe.
But Tigerclaw is my problem too. If you're determined to go, I'm coming with you.
And with that, Detective Fireheart and his partner in crime Graystripe are on the case. The scene that my sister Rachel's going to be drawing today is of a suspicious Tigerclaw grilling Fireheart after he sees him release Silverstream and not fight her harder during the battle with RiverClan. I'll read that scene to you now. It's on pages 8 through 10 of Forest of Secrets. Tigerclaw turned to face him, and Fireheart tried hard not to flinch at the menace in the cat's tense shoulders.
I saw you in the last battle.
The deputy's voice was a low growl, and his ears were flattened against his head as he spat.
I saw you let that RiverClan warrior escape.
Fireheart winced, his mind flashing back to the battle in the WindClan camp. What Tigerclaw said was true. Fireheart had allowed a RiverClan warrior to flee without a scratch, but not out of cowardice or disloyalty. The warrior had been Silverstream, unknown to the rest of ThunderClan. Fireheart's best friend Graystripe was in love with her, and Fireheart could not bring himself to wound her. Fireheart had done his best to talk his friend out of visiting Silverstream. Their relationship went against the warrior code, and put both of them in grave danger. But Fireheart also knew that he could never betray Graystripe. Besides, Tigerclaw had no right to accuse any cat of disloyalty. He had stood on the edge of the battle, watching as Fireheart fought for his life against another RiverClan warrior, and turned away instead of helping him. And that was not the worst accusation Fireheart could make against the deputy. He suspected Tigerclaw of murdering the former ThunderClan deputy Redtail, and even planning to get rid of Bluestar. If you think I'm disloyal, tell Bluestar, he meowed challengingly. Tigerclaw drew back his lips at a snarl, and dropped to a half-crouch, sliding out his long claws. I don't need to bother Bluestar, he hissed. I can deal with a kitty pet like you. He stared at Fireheart a moment longer. Fireheart realized with a jolt that there was a trace of fear as well as distrust in his blazing amber eyes. Tigerclaw wonders how much I know, he thought suddenly. Fireheart's friend Ravenpaw, Tigerclaw's own apprentice, had witnessed the murder of Redtail. Tigerclaw had tried to kill him to keep him quiet, so Fireheart had taken him to live with Barley, a loner who lived near the Two-Leg Farm on the other side of WindClan's territory. Fireheart had tried to tell Ravenpaw's story to Bluestar, but the clan leader believed that her brave deputy could be guilty of no such thing. As he glared at Tigerclaw, Fireheart's frustration returned. But without another word, Tigerclaw swung around and stalked away. Tigerclaw is starting to piece things together. Graystripe is always gone. Fireheart won't fight this cat because it's his best friend's girlfriend, who
pretty fishy. And not just because it's happening by the river. Tiger Claw, of course, really has no right to judge others about loyalty. He killed Redtail, ThunderClan's deputy, and has tried several failed attempts at killing Bluestar. And later in the books, he gets Broken Star's old band back together to attack ThunderClan. Yeah, not exactly the picture of loyalty. Anyways, I'd love to hear in the comment section down below what you think about all this. Fireheart not hurting Silverstream in the battle, and Tiger Claw seeing it. It's surprising he didn't make a bigger deal about it, but I suppose it's because he knows that Fireheart has dirt on him too, so he doesn't dare. The scene that my sister Rachel's going to be drawing today is of Fireheart getting spooked by seeing Tiger Claw's eyes in Baby Bramblekit. I'll read this scene to you now. It's on pages 17 through 20 of Rising Storm. Above Fireheart, the fierce sun continued to shine in the clear blue sky. Yet, he felt chilled to the bone. He turned away from the Elder's Den, unable to face them now, and paced anxiously along the side of the clearing. As he approached the nursery, Fireheart stared at the ground, lost in thought. A sudden movement outside the nursery entrance made him look up. He froze, and his heart began to pound as he recognized Tiger Claw's amber eyes gleaming at him. Horrified by the familiar gaze, Fireheart blinked in alarm, and then he realized it was not the fierce warrior he'd been looking at, but Bramblekit, Tiger Claw's son. Fireheart saw a ripple of pale amber fur and looked up to see Goldenflower slip out of the nursery behind the dark tabby kit. A pale ginger kit dangled from her jaws, and she placed it gently on the ground next to Bramblekit. Fireheart knew at once that Goldenflower had seen his reaction, for the pale ginger queen wrapped her tail protectively around her kits and lifted her chin, as if she was challenging Fireheart to say something. Fireheart felt a rush of guilt. What was he thinking of? He was the clan deputy for StarClan's sake. He knew he had to reassure Goldenflower that her kits would be cared for and respected like any other member of ThunderClan. Your kits look healthy, he stammered, but his fur prickled as the dark tabby kit stared up at him with unblinking amber eyes, the image of Tiger Claw's menacing glare. Fireheart tried to push away the fear and anger that made him instinctively unsheath his claws and press them against the hard ground. It was Tiger Claw who betrayed ThunderClan, he told himself, not this tiny kit. It's Tawny Kit's first time out of the nursery, Goldenflower told him, and she glanced anxiously down at the little kit. They've grown quickly, Fireheart murmured. Goldenflower leaned down and licked each kit on the head, and then patted towards Fireheart. I understand how you feel, she meowed quietly. Your eyes have always betrayed your heart. But these are my kits, and I will die to protect them if I have to. She looked up into Fireheart's eyes, and he saw the intensity of her feeling in their yellow depth. I'm afraid for them, Fireheart, she went on. The clan will never forgive Tiger Claw, nor should they. Bramblekit and Tawny Kit have done nothing wrong, and I will not let them be punished because of Tiger Claw. I'm not even going to tell them who their father was, just that he was a brave and powerful warrior. Fireheart felt a pang of sympathy for the troubled queen. They will be safe here, he promised, but the amber eyes of Bramblekit still made his paws prickle with unease as Goldenflower turned away. I feel bad for Bramblekit. That Fireheart can't look at him without seeing Tiger Claw, and all the misdeeds that he did. But Brambleclaw earns the trust of Fireheart later, and time again proves that he's different than his wicked father.
In today's speed paint, we're going to be following along with Detective Fireheart to his interrogation of Ravenpaw to find out the truth and all the nitty-gritty details of Redtail's murder. Hopefully find out the whodunit of this murder mystery. And so that Fireheart can compile all of his information and notes that he can hopefully take this to Bluestar and get Tiger Claw exiled. I'm going to be reading to you guys in between pages 24 and 30 in Forest of Secrets.
Fireheart? Is that you?
A surprised mew came from the darkness on the other side of the door.
Ravenpaw?
Fireheart squeezed through the gap, thankful to be out of the wind. The scents of the barn flowed around him, and his mouth began to water as he detected the smell of mouse. The barn was dimly lit by moonlight, filtering through a small window high under the roof. As his eyes adjusted, Fireheart saw another cat standing a few tail lengths away. His friend looked even sleeker and better fed than when he'd seen him last, and Fireheart realized how scrawny and bedraggled he must look in comparison. Ravenpaw purred happily as he patted over to Fireheart and touched noses with him.
Welcome,
he meowed.
It's good to see you.
And it's good to see you, Graystripe meowed, pushing his way through the gap in the door after Fireheart.
Did you get WindClan back to their camp safely?
Ravenpaw asked. Fireheart and Graystripe had stayed with him during their journey to bring WindClan home.
Oh, yes.
meowed Fireheart. But it's a long story. We can't. Well, what's going on here?
Another cat's mew interrupted them. Fireheart spun around, recognizing Barley, the black and white loner who had willingly shared his home with Ravenpaw.
Hi, Barley.
Fireheart mewed.
We need to talk to Ravenpaw. So I see.
Barley mewed.
And it must be important to bring you across the moor in this weather. Yes it is, Fireheart agreed.
He glanced at the former ThunderClan apprentice, the urgency of his mission prickling through his fur.
Ravenpaw, we haven't any time to waste.
And so then, in between scenes here, Fireheart must ask Ravenpaw to tell him the story. And of course, he probably pulled out his little mini tape recorder and taped the session. And here we have it now that we're listening to.
I know that Tigerclaw killed Redtail,
Ravenpaw insisted.
I was there. I saw him do it. Tell us everything you remember,
Fireheart urged, giving Ravenpaw an encouraging nod.
Ravenpaw stared in front of him, his eyes dark as he journeyed back in his mind to the Battle of the Sunning Rocks.
Fireheart could see his confidence beginning to ebb. The black cat was losing himself in his memories, reliving the fear and burden of what he knew.
I'd been wounded in the shoulder, he began, and Redtail, he was our deputy then. As you know, he told me to hide in a crack in the rock until it was safe to get away. I was going to make a dash for it when I saw Redtail attack a RiverClan cat. I think it was that Grey Warrior called Stonefur. Redtail knocked Stonefur off his paws, and he looked as if he was about to sink his claws into him for a serious injury.
Well, why didn't he?
Greystripe put in.
Oakheart came out of nowhere,
Ravenpaw explained.
He sank his teeth into Redtail's scruff and pulled him off of Stonefur. His voice shook as memories flooded through his mind's eye. Stonefur ran away.
The cat paused, unconsciously crouching down as if he were scared of something close by.
What happened next?
Fireheart prompted gently.
Redtail spat at Oakheart. He asked him if RiverClan warriors were unable to fight their own battles. Redtail was brave,
Ravenpaw added.
The RiverClan deputy was twice his size. And then Oakheart said a strange thing. He told Redtail no ThunderClan cat will ever harm that warrior.
What?
Greystripe narrowed his eyes until they were yellow slits.
That doesn't make sense. Are you sure you heard him right?
Positive, insisted Ravenpaw.
But clans fight all the time,
meowed Fireheart.
What's so special about Stonefur?
I don't know.
Ravenpaw shrugged, shying away from their searching questions.
So, what did Redtail do after Oakheart said that?
Asked Greystripe. Ravenpaw's ears pricked up and his eyes widened.
He flew at Oakheart. He bowled him right off his paws and underneath a rocky overhang. I couldn't see them, although I could hear them snarling. And then I heard a rumbling sound, and the rock collapsed on top of them. He stopped, shivering. Please, go on. Fireheart mewed. He hated putting Ravenpaw through this, but he had to know the truth. I heard a screech from Oakheart, and I saw his tail sticking out from underneath the rocks. Ravenpaw closed his eyes as if he wanted to shut out the sight, and then he opened them again. Just then, I heard Tigerclaw behind me. He ordered me to go back to camp, but I'd only gone a little way when I realized that I had no idea if Redtail was okay after the rock fall. So I crept back, past all the RiverClan warriors that were running away. And when I got to the rocks, Redtail was charging out of the dust. His tail was straight up and his fur stood on end. But he was all right. Not a scratch on him from what I could see. And he ran straight into Tigerclaw, who was waiting in the shadows. And was that when
Greystripe began?
Yes. Ravenpaw's claws flexed as if he was imagining himself in the battle. Tigerclaw grabbed Redtail and pinned him down. Redtail struggled, but he couldn't break free. And Ravenpaw swallowed, staring at the floor. Tigerclaw sank his teeth into Redtail's throat, and it was all over. He dropped his chin into his paws. Fireheart moved closer to him, pressing his body against Ravenpaw's flank. So, Oakheart died when rocks fell on him. It was an accident, he murmured. No cat killed him. That still doesn't prove that Tigerclaw killed Redtail, Greystripe pointed out. I don't see how any of this helps us at all.
For a heartbeat,
Fireheart stared at him, discouraged. Then, his eyes widened and he sat up. Yes, it does! If we can prove the Rockfall story, it shows that Tigerclaw was lying when he said that Oakheart killed Redtail. And when he claimed to have killed Oakheart in revenge. Just a minute, Greystripe interrupted. Ravenpaw, at the gathering when we were apprentices, you didn't say anything about falling rocks. You made it seem as if Redtail killed Oakheart. Did I? Ravenpaw blinked and struggled to focus on Greystripe. I didn't mean to. This is what really happened. I promise. And that's why Bluestar wouldn't listen to us. Fireheart went on excitedly. She couldn't believe that Redtail would have killed another deputy. But Redtail didn't kill him! Bluestar will have to take us seriously now. Fireheart's brain was whirling with everything they had discovered. He wanted to ask Ravenpaw more questions, but he could smell the fear scent on his friend, and saw the old haunted look in his eyes, as if telling the story had brought back all of his unhappy memories of ThunderClan. Is there anything more you can tell us, Ravenpaw? Ravenpaw shook his head. This means so much to the clan, Fireheart told him. Hopefully, now we stand a chance of convincing Bluestar that Tigerclaw is dangerous. If she listens, Greystripe pointed out. It's a pity you told her Ravenpaw's first story, he added to Fireheart. Now that he's changed everything, she won't know what to believe. But he hasn't changed everything, Fireheart protested, as Ravenpaw flinched at Greystripe's irritable tone. We misunderstood, that's all. I'll convince Bluestar somehow, he added. At least now we know the truth. The black cat looked a little happier, but Fireheart could see that he didn't want to think about the past anymore. He settled beside Ravenpaw, purring encouragement, and for a short while the three cats shared tongues. Then Fireheart pushed himself to his paws. It's time we were on our way, he meowed. Take care, Ravenpaw mewed. And watch out for Tigerclaw. Don't worry, Fireheart assured him. You've given us what we need to deal with him. And that puts an end to the reading for today's speed paint of Ravenpaw's full story. Oh wow, I had so much fun reading this section. It almost brought me to tears a few times. It just brings up some of these upset feelings I still have towards Redtail's Dead, the novella that I was so excited for to finally give us a little bit of backstory into everything, with this crazy murder mystery and events that happened at the Sunning Rocks. And then, of course, that novella just totally did not even come close to what I wanted, with them actually having Redtail murder Oakheart and not have the rockfall happen at all. Oh my goodness, I was so disappointed. But at least through my episodes, I've been able to create a narrative that I like, and so I'm happy with that. Today, we're going to be drawing Tigerclaw scheming with Broken Tail, which is something we don't see too much of, honestly, in the books, which is kind of disappointing because this is like Tigerclaw's big book. Because, spoilers, at the end of it, he ends up getting exiled from ThunderClan. And it seems like in the book, we hardly get to see anything that he's doing leading up to that point to foreshadow anything. So when I was working on my adaptation of Forest of Secrets into scripts for my episodes, I really tried to work on making Tigerclaw more of a main character in Forest of Secrets. Because honestly, it gets boring after so long to hear Fireheart monologue time and time again, and to not get to see any perspectives of other characters. So I tried to work hard to add in some more perspectives of scenes that just Tigerclaw is in. I've actually got an episode coming out later this week that I'm super excited about. That's going to have an important scene of Tigerclaw scheming with Broken Tail. And in the episodes that I have posted so far, episode 3 was almost a completely dedicated Tigerclaw and Broken Tail episode, to kind of develop that connection and to see how these two characters began working together. If you have not already, I highly recommend that you go and check out episode 3 of Forest of Secrets. It's really cool, not from the books related content, that just adds a lot more detail to the plot of what's happening in Forest of Secrets. I like that I drew the connection between Broken Tail and Tigerclaw, that they both have ties to kitty pets in their family line. With Broken Tail, his father Ragged Star's father was Hal, the kitty pet. Ragged Star actually killed his father, which I say in the episodes. Broken Star did not deviate from that path because he also killed his own father as well, when he killed Ragged Star to become leader. And Tigerclaw's father, Pine Star, chose to become a kitty pet. So they kind of have that, weight on them and, pressure from outside people always looking at them and say, oh, that's the person that's related to a kitty pet. So I just thought that was a really cool connection to draw for Tigerclaw and Broken Tail's relationship and how they might have been drawn together to work together. In the actual physical book, there's not that much going on that Fireheart perceives of what's going on between Broken Tail and Tigerclaw.
that they might even be working together, except for this one conversation. And then, of course, later when he, goes out and, smells a bunch of weird scents and is like, huh, Tiger Claw was, talking to a bunch of weird cats. But this is a scene that happens in the book. This is on pages 160 through 161. I'll read it to you now. Fireheart was trotting over to the heap when he noticed Broken Tail laying outside his den. Tiger Claw was beside him, and the two cats were sharing tongues like old friends. Unexpectedly moved by the sight, Fireheart paused. Was Tiger Claw's merciful side making a rare appearance? He could just hear the rumble of Tiger Claw's voice, though he was too far away to make out the words. Broken Tail replied briefly, looking much more relaxed, as if he was responding to the deputy's friendliness. Suddenly, all of Fireheart's old doubts about bringing Tiger Claw to justice welled up inside of him. Every cat knew that Tiger Claw was a fierce and courageous fighter, and that he handled the responsibilities of deputy with effortless confidence. Fireheart had never seen anything to show that he had the compassion of a true leader. Until now, with Broken Tail. Fireheart's mind whirled. Perhaps Bluestar had been right. The Tiger Claw was innocent of Redtail's death. Perhaps Cinderpaw's accident had been just that, instead of a trap. What if I've been wrong all along? Fireheart thought. Suppose Tiger Claw is just what he seems to be. A loyal and efficient deputy. But he couldn't make himself believe it. And as Fireheart padded more slowly over to the fresh kill pile, he wished to the tip of his claws that he could be freed of the burden of what he knew. Whoa, so that is just a super weird scene. So Fireheart sees Tiger Claw and Broken Tail chilling, hanging out, looking like best buds. He's like, whoa, that's so sweet. That makes my heart break a little bit, actually. And he's like, maybe Tiger Claw's not such a bad guy. That's just so weird. That is our tiny bit of foreshadowing that the two are working together. I don't know. I just feel like there could have been a little bit more throughout Forest of Secrets to show some more hints so that we're not just like, wait, what? I'm just excited about what I'm doing with Forest of Secrets for my episodes, and I hope that you guys will join along the ride to watch it all unfold. We were inspired to make artwork today showing Tiger Claw and his clones. Because, as we learned in Forest of Secrets, Tiger Claw is going to be a father. And a lot of people within the Warrior Cats fandom like to joke that Tiger Claw has all of these different clones of his sons, like Brambleclaw, Hawkfrost, and even his grandson Tigerheart. And so in our episodes of Forest of Secrets, once Fireheart finds out that Tiger Claw is going to be a father, he goes to the warrior's den and he has a nightmare that he's being attacked by all of these Tiger Claw clones. You guys will have to wait for episode 11 of Forest of Secrets to see that scene. It's gonna be hilarious. And I've even made 4 little mini Tiger Claw clones just for that scene. But since I have not yet filmed that part of the episodes, I thought it would be fun to read to you guys from Forest of Secrets to see the scene where Fireheart finds out that Goldenflower is expecting. This is on pages 111 through 112 of Forest of Secrets. I'll read it to you now. Just then, he saw Goldenflower emerge from the nursery, pushing a ball of soiled moss in front of her. Her belly was round with the weight of the kits she was carrying. "Hello, Fireheart," she meowed. "Isn't it great to see the sun again?" Fireheart gave the queen's shoulder a friendly lick. "Soon it'll be New Leaf," he meowed. "Just in time for your kits. He broke off and spun his head around as Tiger Claw's voice sounded behind him, speaking his name. "Fireheart, if you've got nothing better to do than stand around gossiping with the queens, I've got a job for you." Fireheart bit back an angry response. He'd been hunting all morning, and he'd only paused for a few moments to talk to Goldenflower. "I want you to take a patrol along the border of RiverClan," the deputy went on. "No cat has been that way for a few days. Now that the snow has gone, we need to renew our scent markings. And make sure no RiverClan cats are hunting on our territory. If they are, you know what to do." "Yes, Tiger Claw." Fireheart mewed. Hedgehogs must be growing wings, he thought, if Tiger Claw had chosen him to lead a patrol. But then he realized Tiger Claw was too clever to behave hostilely towards him in public. The deputy would be careful to treat him just the same as any other clan warrior, in case Bluestar noticed. "Whom should I take with me?" he asked. "Any cat you like. Or do you need me to hold your paw?" Tiger Claw added with a sneer. That's hilarious. So in the books, we don't really get a lot of insight that Tiger Claw and Goldenflower are actually mates, or that those kits are going to be his. We've tried to sprinkle in a few little cute scenes with Goldenflower and Tiger Claw into our episodes to kind of build that connection more.
Hello
Hello everybody! Today my awesome sister Rachel will be drawing one of my favorite queens and her kits from the Warrior Cat series. And that is Golden Flower, with both her litters of kits, which is Swiftpaw and Bramblekit and Tawny-Kit. Anyways, back to today's speed paint. I am super excited that the queen and her kits being drawn today is Golden Flower, because she is really going to get her proper debut in my version of Forest Secrets very soon. In my writings of the first 16 episodes of Forest of Secrets, I've made her the character with the 8th most amount of lines, which is a huge step up for her from being almost non-existent character in the plot of this book. My feelings are that if we are to someday set Bramblekit up to be a potential point of view character eventually, a lot more thought and care needs to go into the development of the characters around him. So with that in mind, I've put a lot of work into the development and ultimate dissolution of Tigerclaw and Goldenflower's relationship, adding all new, never-before-seen elements that I feel really fit and strengthen the future narrative and make sense of future motives in the story. I really don't want to spoil anything that I have planned for Forest of Secrets exactly, but I thought it might be interesting for you guys to all know who are going to be the most important characters in these first 16 episodes. So I'm gonna let you guys in on the characters who appear in the most episodes, starting off, of course, with Fireheart, who appears in all 16 episodes. And as our main character, that makes sense that he'd be seen in every single episode. But now, with our second most seen character, it really changes from the books. And that second most seen character is Tigerclaw. I have written him to be in 14 out of 16 episodes, so in all episodes except for episodes 5 and 12. Originally in the book, Tigerclaw is almost non-existent in the story until the very end, which I feel is too little too late to set up the story and make you care about what he does after the events of this book. So I've written him to have many more lines and scenes and even full episodes from his point of view. Our next episode, episode 3, is one of those Tigerclaw point of view episodes, and I hope you guys all enjoy it. It should be coming out in about the 2nd or 3rd week of September. For our next few characters that will be in the most episodes, we've got Graystripe. He's in 11 out of 16 episodes. And I did a lot more writing to set up his relationship with Silverstream, and there's a lot of new RiverClan scenes that will really be story building. This next character may be a bit of a shocker to you. It's Darkstripe. He is in 8 out of 16 episodes. Our 4th most present character throughout Forest of Secrets. He may not have as many lines as some of the other most seen characters, with just 26 lines, but his presence is important to a big plot point that I've written into Forest of Secrets, so you guys will have to keep an eye out for that. Up next, both at 7 episodes out of 16, we have Bluestar and Cloudkit. And at 6 out of 16 episodes, we have the queen that we are drawing in this speed paint today, Goldenflower. I thought it'd be fun to read some lines to you from episode 10 of Forest of Secrets, which has not yet been released or filmed or anything, but I really like these lines for Goldenflower, and I hope that they'll get you excited for more episodes of Forest of Secrets. So, here they are. Since I became a mother, I've treasured every moment. From Swiftkit opening his eyes to his apprentice ceremony. And even now, watching him train to become a ThunderClan warrior. It has all brought me so much joy. I believe it was the desire to have more cherished moments like those that led me to wanting to have a second litter. Thank you, Bluestar, and I'm grateful that my new mate will be in ThunderClan, helping me raise these kits. It's so hard doing it alone. That is the one thing I have always regretted with Swiftpaw, that he never had the chance to know his father. These kits will have a father that they can be proud of. Ooh, those lines are so interesting. I can't wait for this to come to life. And of course, that new mate, spoiler alert, the father that her kids can be proud of, is Tigerclaw. And only time will tell how soon that dream of hers will unravel. So, here we have the speed paint completed. It's so cute to see Goldenflower with her son Swiftpaw and now with her new litter of kits. In my version of events, Goldenflower had to race Swiftpaw alone, without any support from any other cat. And that's part of the reason why she's such a strong and independent queen. which makes it all the more heartbreaking with her optimism of having this second litter with a new Tom, so that her kids can know their father and be proud of him. Those of us who have read the series know that Tiger Claw's actions will follow Bramblekit and Tonnykit for the rest of their lives.
In today's speed paint, I'm going to be reading the scene where Fireheart and Graystripe save Mistyfoot's kits from the river. I'll be reading this scene from pages 120 to 125 from Forest of Secrets to you now.
Wait, he called. Did you hear that?
Graystripe looked back, and both cats stood, ears pricked, straining to catch the sound. Then Fireheart heard it again, the panic-stricken mewing of kits in distress.
Where are they?
He meowed, looking all around and up into the trees.
I can't see them. There!
Graystripe flicked his tail in the direction of Sunning Rocks.
Fireheart, they'll drown!
Fireheart saw that the current had driven a mat of twigs and debris up against the Sunning Rocks. Two kits balanced precariously on it, their tiny mouths stretched wide as they wailed for help. Even as Fireheart watched, the current tugged at the mat, threatening to sweep it away.
Come on!
He yelled to Graystripe. We've got to reach them somehow! Taking a deep breath, he waded into the flood. The water soaked into his fur at once, and a paralyzing icy chill crept up his legs. The tug of the current made it harder to stay on his paws with every step he took. Graystripe splashed in behind him, but when the water reached his belly fur, he stopped.
Fireheart!
He choked out. Fireheart twisted around and gave him a comforting nod. He could understand how the river might terrify Graystripe after his near drowning a few moons ago.
Stay there, he meowed. I'll try to push the mat over to you. Graystripe nodded, trembling too violently to speak.
Fireheart waded forward a few more paces, and then launched himself into the current and began to swim, thrashing his legs instinctively to push himself through the black water. They were upstream of the Sunning Rocks. If StarClan was kind, he should be carried down towards the kits. For a moment, he lost sight of them in the wind-ruffled waves, though he could still hear their terrified cries. Then the smooth gray bulk of Sunning Rocks loomed up beside him. He kicked out strongly, fearing for one panic-stricken heartbeat that he would be swept right past. The current swirled. Fireheart's paws worked furiously, and the river tossed him against the rock. Driving the breath out of his body, he scrambled at the rough surface, bracing himself against the rushing water, and found himself face to face with the two kits. They were both very small, probably still suckling from their mother, Fireheart guessed. One was black and one was gray, their fur plastered against their tiny bodies, and their brilliant blue eyes wide with terror. They were crouched on a tangle of mat of twigs, leaves, and two-leg rubbish. But when they saw Fireheart, they started to scramble towards him. The mat lurched, and their wails grew louder as the river water sloshed over them.
Keep still!
Fireheart gasped, paddling madly against the current. Briefly, he wondered if he could climb onto the rock and haul the kits up with him, but he was not sure how long it would be before Sunning Rocks was completely submerged. Looking back, he saw that his friend had already moved downstream, into a good position to catch the mat as it was swept towards him.
Here we go, Fireheart muttered. StarClan, help us!
He pushed himself off the rock, thrusting the mat with his muzzle to guide it into the current. The two kits whimpered and flattened themselves against the twigs. Fireheart put every last scrap of energy into pushing the mat ahead of him with his nose and paws. He could feel exhaustion draining the strength from his limbs. His fur was soaked, and he was so cold that he could hardly breathe. Raising his head and blinking water out of his eyes, he realized with horror that he had lost sight of Graystripe and the bank. It seemed as if there was nothing in the world but the churning water and the fragile mat of twigs, and the two terrified kits. Then he heard Graystripe's voice, sounding close by.
Fireheart! Fireheart, here!
Fireheart moved again against the mat, trying to propel it towards the voice. It spun away from him, and his head went under.
Coughing and choking, he clawed his way back up to the surface, to see Graystripe pacing on dry land just a few tail lengths away. For a heartbeat, Fireheart felt relief, as he was nearly there. And then, he focused his blurry eyes on the kits again, and fear pulsed through him. The mat was beginning to break up.
Fireheart watched helplessly as the twigs underneath the gray kit gave way, and the tiny creature was plunged into the torrent.
No!
Graystripe yelled, launching himself after the drowning kit. Fireheart lost sight of them. The kit left on the mat squealed desperately, trying to cling to the twigs as they were split apart by the current. With the last of his strength, Fireheart drove himself forward and sank his teeth into the little creature's scruff and kicked out for dry ground.
Within moments, he felt stones under his paws and managed to stand. Stone-limbed with weariness, he staggered out and dropped the black kid onto the grass at the edge of the flood. Its eyes were closed. He was not even sure that it was still alive. Glancing downstream, he saw Graystripe splashing out of the shallows. With the gray kit gripped firmly in his teeth, he padded up to Fireheart and set it gently on the ground. Fireheart nosed both kits. They were laying very still. When Fireheart looked closer, he could see the faint rise and fall of their flanks as they breathed.
"Thanks, StarClan. They're alive!"
exclaimed Graystripe, his voice filled with relief.
"Yes, but they won't live long without their mother,"
Fireheart pointed out. He sniffed the black kit carefully. The river had washed off much of the clan's scent, but he could still detect a faint trace.
"RiverClan,"
he meowed, unsurprised.
"We'll have to take them home."
The really tragic thing about this scene is that even though these kits were saved by Graystripe and Fireheart, out of Mistyfoot's 4 kits, only one survives until adulthood, Reed Kit. And I'm not exactly sure which kits were in this scene, the Gray Kit and the Black Kit, but there was Perch Kit, Pike Kit, Primrose Kit, and Reed Kit that were Mistyfoot's kits. And out of those, only Reed Kit makes it to adulthood. So in our episodes, we're trying to give a little bit more personality and names to those kits. So, to shine more spotlight on all 4 kits, we decided for it not just to be 2 kits that are on the little river mat, but for it to be all 4 of Mistyfoot's kits. And you can see from the artwork they've all got really adorable designs. We're drawing Mistyfoot chasing after her kits as they're being swept away. Looking back in the book, though, it seems that the clan just doesn't know where the kits went. They didn't know that the current took them. But, oh well, I'd like to imagine that it happened like this. In the book, it says that a black and gray kit are swept away and rescued by Fireheart and Graystripe, which I guess would be Perch Kit and Pike Kit. Rachel drew Primrose Kit instead of Pike Kit because I forgot to tell her that the kits had details in the book. Oops. But interestingly enough, only one of Misty Star's kits live into adulthood, Reed Whisker. Perch Kit dies before he can become a paw, and Pike Paw and Primrose Paw die before they can become warriors. The real truth is probably that the Errands just forgot about these 3 extra kits, so they killed them off, and then mentioned them again and gave them names in Misty Star's Omen. But I'd like to imagine that unknowingly it all makes sense anyways. So these are my theories. Perch Kit died soon after the flood, from the trauma and from too much water inhalation, and Pike Paw developed a nasty cold from being in the water too long, and that cold stuck with him. He was made an apprentice, but he became too weak to train and passed away. And we don't know why Primrose Paw died. Maybe poisoned fish? They did mention that was a thing that was happening in RiverClan. Later in the Forest of Secrets, Blue Star approaches Mistyfoot at a gathering and asks her how her kits are doing after the flood. Mistyfoot is taken aback, not knowing why the ThunderClan leader is suddenly talking to her. It's 'cause she's your mommy and she wants to bond. All of a sudden, randomly, out of nowhere, after all these years. Yeah, I don't know either. I'll read this scene to you now. It's on pages 197 through 198 of The Forest of Secrets. I hear you have kids, she meowed, her voice level. Are they well? Mistyfoot looks slightly surprised to be addressed by the ThunderClan leader. 2 of them were swept away in the river, she stammered. Fireheart and Graystripe saved them. I'm sorry. You must have been frightened for them, Blue Star murmured, her blue eyes soft with sympathy. I'm glad the ThunderClan warriors were able to help. Did your kits recover? Yes, they're fine now, Blue Star. Mistyfoot still seemed bewildered at being questioned so closely by the ThunderClan leader. They're all fine. They'll be apprentices soon. And I'm sure they'll make fine warriors. Blue Star mewed warmly. No, they won't. Because 3 of them died before they can be warriors. How dare you jinx me like that! I don't think Mistyfoot's kits were really fine. Perch Kit is probably dead by the time the gathering happens. But why would Mistyfoot tell that to a complete stranger? And definitely not to an enemy clan's leader. This just goes to show again, why do the cats even have gatherings if they just lie to each other all the time to appear strong? You're obviously not going to tell your enemies,
Oh yeah, we've been having a terrible time since the flood happened. So many cats have drowned, so many kids, it's terrible. You're not gonna tell people that because that'll make you look weak.
In today's video, we're going to be exploring a theory that I have about Silverstream, that I'm planning on developing further in future episodes of my version of Forest of Secrets. And while I tell you all of this, my awesome sister Rachel will be doing a speed paint inspired by this theory. I probably should warn you now that there will be some spoilers discussed for a character's demise in Forest of Secrets, just in case you haven't read it already. But most of this is pretty baseline knowledge for the Warriors fandom since these books have been out for nearly 2 decades. Anyways, you've been warned. You have been warned. But don't click away because this video is going to be interesting. And I want to hear your opinions in the comments down below once I've told you my theory. Your ideas and feedback could help shape the future of the world that I'm building within this story, and have future impacts on the storyline that should deepen a lot of characters' perspectives. Cool thing about these episodes that I'm making is that unlike with a novel, I'm not necessarily limited to a single point of view. And I asked several months back, if it was possible, which characters do you think would benefit the story to see things from their perspective? And you guys came through with a lot of great ideas. Like seeing more things from Tiger Claw's perspective to help the audience better understand his treacherous plan, and even explore Goldenflower's point of view to see the start and deterioration of her relationship with the main antagonist of the book. But the most requested character to get a point of view in Forest of Secrets was, well, the character we're focusing on today, Silverstream. And it makes a lot of sense to do it. First off, she's in a completely different clan than our main character Fireheart, so her perspective could remove a lot of unknown variables to the story that lead to major plot points, so that when those events inevitably happen, they hit harder and make more of an impact on the viewers, rather than just leaving them blindsided and confused. There's a lot of room in the story for an added perspective for Silverstream, mostly after Greystripe and Fireheart are punished for helping RiverClan. And that's to the point which I currently have episodes planned and scripted for episodes 1 through 16. We already gained through those episodes a lot of insight into RiverClan, and we come to care about the characters there through Fireheart and Greystripe's heroic act in saving Mistyfoot's kids from the river. Fireheart and Greystripe are only able to help and bring back prey to RiverClan for a short period of time before Tiger Claw discovers what they're doing and puts a stop to it. But there's a perfect opportunity to jump over to a RiverClan perspective right before WindClan and ShadowClan attack ThunderClan, after the gathering and the attempt to kill Broken-Tail. Because Greystripe is missing from that battle. Why, you might ask? Because he's visiting Silverstream. And this is an important visit that can't just be glossed over, because just a few chapters later, she dies at Sunning Rocks, when the kids come unexpectedly early. So that made me think, what were the events that happened outside of Fireheart's scope that led to this terrible tragedy? So many cats seem to carry the blame for Silverstream's death. Greystripe understandably feels guilt and sorrow for the love he lost. And Cinderpaw is absolutely crushed by the outcome, seeing Silverstream's death as a failure on her part. And it all but makes her want to give up on her future of becoming a medicine cat. I've done my research, and the odds of a she-cat dying while giving birth are fairly low, especially with the support of a medicine cat with some prior experience. And though we don't see it in the books, Cinderpaw must have that. Goldenflower kidded before Silverstream and became the foster mother to her kids after she died. So we can assume that Cinderpaw was present for that kidding, and gained some confidence from the experience that she could handle a similar situation. Otherwise, she would have never volunteered to come, and would have gone to fetch Yellowfang instead. So that brings up the question, what went wrong? Why did Silverstream die, and what caused her to go into early labor in the first place? Easy answer for the plot of the story, and to isolate Fireheart from his best friend for the next section of the arc. But that's too simple. On this channel, we're all about digging deeper and forging our own connections. So here's my theory and what we'll likely be doing with the episodes. Before Greystripe's visit to Silverstream, we get a scene from her perspective in RiverClan's camp. She's in the medicine cat den getting a routine checkup with Mudfur. He's warning Silverstream that her kidding might not be easy. There's a history in her clan of difficult labors. Mudfur's mate died in labor after giving birth to Leopard Fur, and Silverstream's own mother died soon after kidding her. He makes her promise to take it easy. He's got enough patience to worry about with Mistyfoot's son, who never fully recovered from falling into the river, and whose chill only seems to be worsening. In the episode, Graystripe comes to RiverClan's camp with prey, and the cats of RiverClan are relieved to see him and are thankful for the prey. But Graystripe regretfully informs Crooked Star that this will be the last time, and the ThunderClan can no longer help them. Crooked Star puts on a brave face and makes it seem as if all of RiverClan's problems are solved, and that the help is no longer needed anyways. This, of course, is far from the truth. RiverClan is still struggling with the poisoned prey source of the river, and many cats are still falling ill. Unknowingly, in the background of the scene, we see Mistyfoot's daughter Primrose Paw boast to her brother Reedpaw about a fish that she caught, and we see her happily eating it. Reedpaw refuses to eat it, and that actually saves his life, because the fish is poisoned. Anyways, as you can probably tell, RiverClan is in for a lot more tragedy, but that is for future episodes. After Graystripe's meeting with Crooked Star, Silverstream pulls him aside and the two talk privately. She is worried for the future of their kits. Crooked Star happens to overhear the conversation from the bushes, and realizes that Graystripe is the father of his daughter's kits, and that his daughter has made the same mistake his brother made in falling for a ThunderClan cat. This scene will actually be true to the books, since there is some evidence that Crooked Star did discover the truth about Silverstream and Graystripe's relationship, as we saw in the illustrated section at the end of Crooked Star's promise. In my theory, some more time passes, and several episodes later, we revisit a point of view with RiverClan, where Pikepaw has died, and now Primrose Paw is sick from the poisoned fish, and is teetering between life and death. Mistyfoot is devastated, and Silverstream has been comforting her. This tragedy has stirred feelings of uncertainty and anxiety in Silverstream, and she's been feeling them in pangs all day. She is unsure if she wants to kit in RiverClan, because there are so many dangers. Crooked Star calls his daughter in to speak with him, and he reveals to her that he knows the kit's father is Graystripe, and that Silverstream has broken the warrior code. He confesses to her that he has known other cats that have made the same mistake. Silverstream protests and says that it's no mistake. She says that she will be with Graystripe and that her heart is with him already. Her father tells her that RiverClan needs these kits, especially after Mistyfoot's loss. She must say goodbye to Graystripe and end her relationship with him before the kits come, so that he won't make any claim for them. Silverstream is very upset from the conversation with her father, and she leaves camp and heads for Sunning Rocks to find Graystripe. All along the way, she feels sharp pains and is racking her mind for a plan. She loves Graystripe and refuses to end her relationship with him. She knows it isn't logical, but she wants to run away from it all. RiverClan, ThunderClan, the tragedy and pressure of clan life, all she wants is to be with Graystripe, and she convinces herself on her journey that the two of them can raise their kits together. Graystripe does end up coming by Sunning Rocks, and he sees the distressed Silverstream, who explains her plan of them running away together. Graystripe is thrown by this new development. He has never even considered the idea of abandoning everything and leaving the clans. He has continually, up until now, rationalized that his relationship with Silverstream does not distract him from his responsibilities as a ThunderClan warrior, and he's argued again and again with Fireheart that it does not affect his loyalty to his clan. But this new proposition shakes him. If he leaves the clan to be with Silverstream, he will definitely be breaking the warrior code, and severing his ties to the clan he knows and loves, and leaving it all behind. Silverstream, in a fragile state already, takes his hesitation as a revelation that he is not fully committed to her, and is not willing to leave his clan for her sake. This sends her into a full-on panic. Graystripe sees that she is unwell, and does his best to catch up and get on the same page as her, and tries to comfort her and assure her that everything will be alright. They'll figure this out. There's plenty of time. Silverstream fights back. No, we're out of time. The kids, I think they're coming. Fireheart, who happens to have followed Graystripe, jumps into action when he hears this. It's way too early for the kids to be here, and Fireheart runs back to camp to get help from a medicine cat. But it's already too late. Ultimately, there's nothing anyone could have done to save Silverstream. Let me take a step back and explain a bit. I believe Silverstream actually began to show signs of going into labor much earlier in the day. But she did not feel ready or that she was in a safe enough place to give birth. So, she deliberately delayed telling anyone in RiverClan. And she refused to even consciously recognize it herself. This caused enormous strain on her body, especially to travel in her condition to Sunning Rocks. This weakened her and added to the complications she was already predisposed to with her family's history of unusual kit deliveries. I think the ultimate cause of death for Silverstream was hemorrhaging after delivery. Some causes of death in this situation could be caused by a kit that's not able to be delivered. But from Cinderpaw's reaction, that doesn't seem to be what happened. And anytime that we see Silverstream in StarClan, there's not a third unborn kit spirit. So I think excessive bleeding and exhaustion is what led to Silverstream's death. But like the title of this video says, who is truly to blame for this tragedy? Well, Silverstream's father, Crooked Star's added pressure to end her relationship with Graystripe definitely didn't help. But we have to recognize that Silverstream might have been doomed from the beginning, because Silverstream is a descendant of Appledusk. If you haven't read Mapleshade's Vengeance, you might not know what that means. But Appledusk was Mapleshade's ex-mate, of which she swore a curse on all of his posterity. And with Silverstream's tragic death, Crooked Star's promise to Mapleshade is complete. He put his clan before every cat that he ever loved, including his daughter. I have a plan for having a scene later where Crooked Star wakes from the dream that he has at the end of Crooked Star's promise. You know, the one where Mapleshade appears and mocks him after he sees Silverstream walk and join the ranks of StarClan. I think it's kinda special that Crooked Star knows before any other cat can tell him that Silverstream has died. And I like the idea of him sending Mistyfoot herself to ThunderClan to find out the details of what happened, so she's not totally blindsided by the revelation. So, in the end, who really is to blame for Silverstream's death? Well, it's up to your interpretation. But Mapleshade's curse definitely played a part. I really enjoyed fleshing out this theory, and there is so much to do to make it happen. And the scene that my sister Rachel's going to be drawing today is of Cinderpaw doing her very best to help Silverstream, when she suddenly starts kidding at the Sunning Rocks. I'll read this scene to you now. It's on pages 220 through 223 of Forest of Secrets. Cinderpaw came skidding around the bottom of the rock and squeezed along the gully to Silverstream's side. She dropped the bundle of herbs and stopped to sniff the Silver Grey Queen. "Fireheart!" she called a moment later. "Get down here! I need you!" Ignoring a furious hiss from Tiger Claw, Fireheart leaped down the gully, scraping his claws painfully on the sheer rock. As his paws touched the ground, Cinderpaw came to meet him. She was carrying a small kit with its eyes closed and ears flat to its head, and dark gray fur plastered to its body. "Is it dead?" Fireheart whispered. "No!" Cinderpaw set down the kit and patted it towards him. "Lick, Fireheart! Make it warm! Get its blood flowing!" As soon as she had finished speaking, she turned in the narrow space and went back to Silverstream. Her body blocked Fireheart's view of what was happening, but he heard the apprentice medicine cat begin to meow reassuringly and answer an anxious question from Graystripe. Fireheart bent down over the kit and rasped his tongue over its tiny body. For a long time it didn't respond, and he began to think Cinderpaw had been wrong, and the kid was dead after all. Then he felt a tiny shiver run through it. "It's alive!" he gasped. "Told you!" Cinderpaw called to him. "Keep licking! There's another one coming any moment now." "That's right, Silverstream. You're doing fine." Tiger Claw had come down from the rock and was standing in the mouth of the gully, with a look of thunder on his face. "That's a RiverClan cat," he hissed. "Will one of you tell me what's going on?" Before any cat had time to reply, Cinderpaw let out a shout of triumph. "You've done it, Silverstream!" Moments later, she turned with its second tiny kit in her jaws, and set it in front of Tiger Claw. "Here, lick!" Tiger Claw glared at her. "I'm not a medicine cat!" Cinderpaw's blue eyes blazed as she rounded on the deputy. "You've got a tongue, haven't you? Lick, you useless lump of fur."
Do you want this kid to die?
Fireheart flinched, half expecting Tiger Claw to hurl himself at her and slash her open with his powerful claws. But instead, the dark tabby bowed his huge head and began to lick the second kit.
At once, Cinderpaw turned back to Silverstream, and Fireheart heard her mew. You need to swallow this herb. Here, Graystripe, make her eat as much as she can. We've got to stop the bleeding.
Fireheart paused for a moment in his own vigorous licking. The kid was breathing evenly now, and it seemed to be out of danger. He wished he knew what was happening in the gully ahead of him. He heard Cinderpaw growl.
Hold on, Silverstream! I'm gonna skip reading over this scene because I think I want to save it for either Silverstream or Graystripe's week. So moving forward a few paragraphs. Sadly, Silverstream doesn't make it. Cinderpaw crouched over the body for a few moments more, nudging at Silverstream's fur. But at last, she admitted defeat. She sat up and stared ahead, her blue eyes bleak and cold.
Fireheart got up and padded over to her. Cinderpaw, the kits are safe, he murmured. The look she gave him made his heart freeze.
But their mother is dead. I lost her, Fireheart. Cinderpaw really did do all she could for Silverstream. The complications weren't something she could just fix. I think it was out of her paws. This was Mapleshade's vengeance in play. Her still getting revenge on the descendants of Appledusk. Because, if you remember, Silverstream was one of Crooked Star's last living family members. So, maybe it was just her fate to die tragically, to hurt poor Crooked Star. But anyways, Cinderpaw wasn't completely useless here, because without her, those silly Toms would have just cluelessly stared at those new kits, not knowing that they needed to lick them, and then not even those kits would have been saved. But, as you can see, Cinderpaw was still haunted by her failure to save Silverstream, and it made her question her future of being a medicine cat. I'll read this other scene to you now. It's on pages 227 through 229 of Forest of Secrets.
Fireheart's thoughts were interrupted when Cinderpaw turned abruptly and made her way out of the den. Fireheart followed her to find her crouching outside with her head bowed onto her front paws. "What's the matter?" he asked.
Silverstream died. I let her die.
"That's not true."
Cinderpaw looked up, blinking. Her eyes were blue pools of misery. I'm supposed to be a medicine cat. I'm supposed to save lives.
"You saved the two kits," Fireheart reminded her, moving closer and pressing the side of his face against her cheek.
But I didn't save Silverstream.
A wave of sympathy washed over Fireheart. He understood how Cinderpaw felt, and he wanted to tell her that she was wrong to blame herself. Feeling useless and saddened, he began to lick her gently.
What's going on?
Fireheart looked up to see Yellowfang standing in front of them, a puzzled frown on her broad gray face.
What's this I hear about Graystripe and a River Clan queen?
Cinderpaw didn't even seem to notice that her mentor was there.
Cinderpaw was brilliant, he told the elderly medicine cat. Those kits would have died without her.
Yellowfang nodded. I've seen Tiger Claw. Brackenfur was taking me to the Sunning Rocks when we ran into him. He was furious about the kits. But he's not furious with you, Cinderpaw, she added. He knows you did your duty, just as any medicine cat would.
Cinderpaw glanced up at that. I'll never be a medicine cat, she spat bitterly. I'm useless. I let Silverstream die.
What? Snarled Yellowfang angrily, arching her skinny gray body. That's the most mouse-brained thing I've ever heard.
Yellowfang. Fireheart began to protest at her harsh tone, but the medicine cat ignored him.
You did your best, Cinderpaw, she growled. No cat can do more.
But it wasn't good enough, Cinderpaw pointed out dully. If you would have been there, you could have saved her.
Oh, StarClan told you that, did they? Cinderpaw, sometimes cats die, and no cat can do anything about it. Not even me.
But I lost her, Yellowfang.
I know, and that's a hard lesson. But I've lost cats before now. More cats than I can count. Every medicine cat in the world has. You live with it. You go on. She nudged Cinderpaw with her battle-scarred muzzle, and went on nudging the younger cat until she rose unsteadily to her paws. Come on, there's work to be done. Small Ear is complaining about his aching joints again. She herded Cinderpaw in the direction of her den, and paused to glance over her shoulder at Fireheart. Don't worry, she told him. She'll be fine.
It's a good thing Cinderpaw had Yellowfang to talk to and learn from. To know that sometimes things just happen. And there's nothing we can do but learn and try to do more next time. The scene that my sister Rachel's going to be drawing today is of Mistyfoot receiving the terrible news from Fireheart that her best friend Silverstream has died due to complications while kidding. I'll read this scene to you now. It's on pages 240 through 242 of Forest of Secrets.
Mistyfoot, up here!
Mistyfoot's ears twitched. Moments later, she was pushing her way through the ferns beside him. What is it? She meowed, looking worried. Is it about Silverstream? I haven't seen her since yesterday.
Fireheart felt as though a bone was lodged in his throat. He swallowed uncomfortably. Mistyfoot?
He meowed.
It's bad news. I'm so sorry. Silverstream is dead.
Mistyfoot fixed him with wide blue eyes of disbelief. Dead? She echoed. She can't be! Before Fireheart could respond, she added more harshly, Did some of your ThunderClan warriors catch her over there?
No.
Fireheart replied quickly.
She was at the Sunning Rocks with Graystripe, and the kids started to come. Something went wrong. There was a lot of blood. We did everything we could, but... Mistyfoot, I'm so sorry.
Pain flooded into Mistyfoot's eyes as he explained. She let out a long, low wailing noise, her head flung back and her claws digging into the ground. No!
Fireheart moved closer to try to comfort her, and felt every muscle in her body rigid with tension. There were no words that he could say that would do any good.
At last, the terrible wailing died away, and Mistyfoot relaxed a little. I knew no good would come of it, she murmured. There was no anger or accusation in her voice, only weary sadness. I told her not to meet Graystripe. Would she listen? And now, I can't believe I'll never see her again.
Graystripe buried her by the Sunning Rocks. Fireheart told her, if you meet me there one day, I'll show you the place.
Mistyfoot nodded. I'd like that, Fireheart.
Her kits are alive,
Fireheart added in an attempt to ease some of the Queen's grief. Her kits? Mistyfoot sat up, alert again.
2 kits, mewed Fireheart. They're going to be fine.
Mistyfoot blinked, suddenly deep in thought. Will ThunderClan want them with them half RiverClan?
One of our queens is suckling them, Fireheart assured her. The clan is angry with Graystripe, but no cat would take it out on the kits.
I see. Mistyfoot was silent for a while, still thoughtful, and then she rose to her paws. I must get back to camp and tell the clan. They don't even know about Graystripe. I can't imagine what I'm going to say to Silverstream's father. Mistyfoot gave Fireheart a quick lick on the forehead. Thank you, she mewed. Thank you for coming to tell me. It's so sad that this is the way things had to end up. If only Silverstream had lived. The scene my sister Rachel's going to be drawing today is of Tigerclaw's murder attempt on Blue Star, at which he fails to actually take her lives, but this attack leaves Blue Star's mind in ruins. I'll read this scene to you now. It's on page 273 through 277 of Forest of Secrets. Tigerclaw? What are you doing? Remember me to StarClan, Blue Star. Tigerclaw, what is this? I am the leader of your clan. Or have you forgotten that? Not for much longer, Tigerclaw growled. I'm going to kill you, and I'm going to kill you again, as many times as it takes for you to join StarClan forever. It's time for me to lead this clan. Blue Star's answering protest was suddenly cut short by the sound of paws thudding against the hard floor of the den, followed by dreadful snarling. Fireheart sprang forward and burst through the curtain of lichen. Tigerclaw and Blue Star were writhing on the floor of the den. Blue Star's claws scored again and again across Tigerclaw's shoulder, but the deputy's greater weight kept her pinned down on the soft sand. Tigerclaw's fangs were buried into her throat, and his powerful claws raked her back. Traitor! Fireheart yelled. He flung himself at Tigerclaw, slashing at his eyes. The deputy reared back, forced to release his grip on Blue Star's throat. Fireheart felt his claws rip down the deputy's ear, spraying blood into the air. Blue Star scrambled to the side of the den, looking half stunned. Fireheart could not tell how badly hurt she was,
Pain lanced through him as Tiger Claw gashed his side with a blow from his powerful hind paws. Fireheart's paws skidded in the sand, and he lost his balance, hitting the ground with Tiger Claw on top of him. The deputy's amber eyes blazed into his.
I'll fillet you, Fireheart. I've waited a long time for this.
Fireheart summoned every scrap of skill and strength he possessed. He knew Tiger Claw could kill him, but in spite of that, he felt strangely free. The lies and need for deceit were over. The secrets, Blue Star's and Tiger Claw's were all out in the open. There was only the clean danger of battle. He aimed a blow at Tiger Claw's throat, but the deputy swung his head to one side, and Fireheart's claws scraped harmlessly through the thick tabby's fur. The blow had loosened Tiger Claw's grip on him. Fireheart rolled away, narrowly avoiding a killing bite to his neck.
Kitty pet,
Tiger Claw taunted, flexing his haunches to pounce again.
come and find out how a real warrior fights.
He threw himself at Fireheart, but at the last moment Fireheart darted aside. As Tiger Claw tried to turn in the narrow den, his paw slipped on a splash of blood, and he crashed awkwardly onto one side. At once Fireheart saw his chance. His claws sliced down to open a gash in Tiger Claw's belly. Blood welled up, soaking into the deputy's fur. He let out a high-pitched caterwaul. Fireheart pounced on him, breaking his claws into his belly again, fastening his teeth into Tiger Claw's neck. The deputy struggled vainly to free himself, his thrashing growing weaker as the blood flowed. Fireheart let go of his neck, planting one paw on Tiger Claw's outstretched foreleg, and the other on his chest.
Blue Star, help me hold him down!
Blue Star was crouching behind him in her moss-lined nest. Blood trickled down from her forehead, but that did not alarm Fireheart as much as the look in her eyes. They were a vague, cloudy blue. She stared, horror-struck in front of her, as if she was witnessing the destruction of everything she'd ever worked for. When Fireheart spoke, she jumped suddenly like a cat woken up from sleep. Moving with dreamlike slowness, she crossed the den and pinned herself against Tiger Claw's hindquarters, trapping him. Even with wounds that would have stunned a lesser cat, Tiger Claw still fought to free himself. His amber eyes burned with hatred as he spat curses at Fireheart and Blue Star. A shadow fell across the entrance to the den, and Fireheart heard hoarse, ragged breathing. He turned his head expecting to see one of the invaders, but it was Graystripe. Dismay flooded over Fireheart at the sight of his friend. He was bleeding heavily from his flank and one foreleg. Blood bubbled from his mouth as he stammered.
Blue Star,
He broke off, staring.
Fireheart? What's happening?
Tiger Claw attacked Blue Star, Fireheart told him quickly. We were right all along. He's a traitor. He brought the rogues to attack us. Graystripe went on staring, and then he shook himself as if he had just climbed out of deep water.
You're losing this fight. There are too many of them, Blue Star. We need your help.
The leader looked at him, but did not reply. Fireheart could see her eyes were still dull and unseeing, as if the discovery of the truth about Tiger Claw had bruised her spirit beyond repair. Blue Star had trusted Tiger Claw, enough to make him her deputy, and she dismissed many warnings about him from Fireheart. Blue Star's mind is thrown into a fog after this attack. She can't believe that she wasn't able to see through Tiger Claw's act, and that she didn't listen to the one cat who did, Fireheart. I'd love to hear in the comment section down below how you would react if you were Blue Star, and your deputy, the person you should trust the very most, totally betrays you and tries to steal the leadership from you by, killing you? Dang, I would be shook too. I'd be like, nope, never trusting anyone again. I am done. The scene that my sister Rachel's going to be drawing today is of Tiger Claw's exile and his parting threat that he leaves with Fireheart. I'll read this scene to you now. It's on pages 281 through 289 of Forest of Secrets.
Blue Star.
Whitestorm spoke up. What will happen to Tiger Claw now? His question set off a crescendo of furious yelling from the clan. Kill him! Blind him! Drive him out of the forest! Blue Star sat motionless, her eyes closed. Fireheart could feel the pain coming off her in waves. The bitter shock of betrayal as she discovered that the deputy that she had trusted for so long was black at heart. Tiger Claw, she met at last. Have you anything to say in your defense? Tiger Claw swung his head around and fixed her with his yellow glare. Defend myself to you? You gutless excuse for a warrior. What sort of leader are you? Keeping peace with other clans? Helping them? You barely punished Fireheart and Graystripe for feeding River Clan, and you sent them to fetch Wind Clan home. I would have never shown such kitty pet softness. I would have brought back the days of Tiger Clan. I would have made Thunder Clan great! And how many cats would have died for it? Blue Star muttered, almost to herself. Fireheart wondered if she was thinking of Thistleclaw, the arrogant, bloodthirsty warrior, she could not have let become deputy instead of her. If you have nothing else to say, I sentence you to exile, the clan leader announced, her voice cracking. Every word seemed to be dragged out of her. You'll leave ThunderClan territory now, and if any cat sees you after sunrise tomorrow, they have permission to kill you. Kill me? Tigerclaw spoke now, snarling his defiance. I'd like to see any of them try. Fireheart beat you, Graystripe called out. Fireheart. Tigerclaw turned his pale amber eyes on his enemy, and Fireheart felt his fur prickle at the look of unfaltered hatred there. Cross my path again, you stinking furball, and we'll see who's stronger. Fireheart leapt to his paws, anger lending him energy. Any time, Tigerclaw. He spat. No, Bluestar growled. No more fighting. Tigerclaw, leave our sight! I'm gonna save the scene of him challenging Darkstripe and Longtail for their weeks of speed paints. Tigerclaw drew himself up to his full height, his eyes blazing a cold fury. I'm going, but I'll be back. You can be sure of that. I'll be revenged on you all! He padded unevenly away from the high rock, and he drew close to Fireheart as he passed, drawing his lips back into a snarl. And as for you, he hissed, keep your eyes open, Fireheart. Keep your ears pricked. Keep looking behind you, because one day I'll find you, and then you'll be crow food. You're crow food now, Fireheart retorted, struggling to hide the fear that crawled along his spine. Tigerclaw spat, and then turned and walked away. The clan parted to let him through, every eye tracking him as he went. The great warrior was not completely steady on his paws. His wounds must be bothering him in spite of Cinderpaw's herbs, Fireheart realized. But he did not stop or look back. The gorse tunnel swallowed him up, and he was gone. This is an insane scene. Tigerclaw is exiled from the clan, and pretty much promises to Fireheart that he will kill him for ruining all of his plans. Fireheart becomes the new deputy of ThunderClan, though he's still a pretty young warrior. And seconds after he gets his new rank, his friend Graystripe leaves him to join RiverClan. Today's the day! Broken Star is biting the berry. Kinda like biting the dust, but biting a deathberry. The scene that my sister Rachel's gonna be drawing today is of Yellowfang feeding Broken Star, now Broken Tail, deathberries, ultimately killing her own son. Dang! That's edgy. I'll read this scene to you now. It's on pages 292 through 294 of Forest of Secrets.
Lie still, Broken Tail. You have lost a life. You're going to be fine. What do you mean? Snarled Broken Tail, his voice weak from loss of blood. If I've got another life left, why do my wounds still hurt? StarClan have healed the wounds that killed you, Yellowfang explained. The others need the skill of a medicine cat. Then what are you waiting for, you scrawny old pest? Get on with it! Give me something for the pain. All right, I will. Yellowfang's voice suddenly turned icy cold. Here, eat these berries. The pain will go away for good. Fireheart peered out of the ferns to see Yellowfang dabbing something with her paw. Carefully, deliberately, she rolled 3 bright red berries in front of the wounded Broken Tail, guiding his paw until he could touch them. And that is when Fireheart recognizes these berries as death berries, and that even eating one would kill you. He drew a breath to call out a warning. But Broken Tail was already chewing the berries. Yellowfang stood watching him, with a face like stone. You and my clan cast me out and I came here, she hissed into his ear. I was a prisoner, just like you. But ThunderClan treated me well. At last they trusted me enough to be their medicine cat. You could have earned their trust too. But now, will any cat ever trust you again? Broken Tail let a contemptuous hiss. You think I care? Yellowfang crouched even closer to him, her eyes gleaming. I know you care for nothing, Broken Tail. Not your clan, not your honor, nor your own kin. I have no kin. Broken Tail spat out the words. Wrong. Your kin has been closer to you than you ever dreamed. I am your mother, Broken Tail. The blind warrior made a curious rasping noise in his throat, like a terrible attempt at laughter. Spiders have spun webs in your brain, old one. Medicine cats can't have kits. That's why I had to give you up, Yellowfang told him, seasons of bitterness dripping from each word. But I never stopped caring. Never. When you were a young warrior,
I was so proud of you. And then you murdered Ragged Star. Your own father. You killed the kids of our clan and made me take the blame. You would have destroyed our clan completely. So now it's time to put an end to all this treachery. An end? What do you mean, you old...
Broken Tail tried to raise his paws, but his legs gave away, and he fell heavily onto his side.
What have you done? I can't feel my paws. I can't breathe.
I fed you death berries.
Yellowfang's eyes were mere slits as she gazed at him.
I know this is your last life, Broken Tail. Medicine cats always know. Now no cat will ever be hurt again because of you.
Broken Tail's jaws parted in a cry of shock and fear. Fireheart thought he could hear regret there, but the blind warrior was unable to put words to it. His limbs thrashed and his paws scrabbled in the dust. His chest heaved as he fought for air.
So, yeah. Yellowfang done murdered the kit murderer. Good job, I guess. It's weird that they stop calling him Broken Star and start calling him Broken Tail when he's a prisoner in ThunderClan. Because I guess they think that Nightstar is the new leader of ShadowClan, but the truth is, the Broken Star never lost his 9 lives. Because apparently StarClan supports kit murdering? I don't know. But when he's in the dank forest, they go back to calling him Broken Star. So I guess he should have stayed Broken Star all along. Anywho, I'd love to hear in the comments section down below what you think of him being poisoned after plotting and helping Tiger Claw attack ThunderClan and attempting to kill Blue Star. I don't know how they thought that plan would ever work. Tiger Star would just quickly kill Blue Star and then pretend to be the one to save the day? And everyone would totally accept him as the next leader? No, I don't think so. And how effectively can a blind cat even plot with someone else? Or trust someone within a clan that's holding them prisoner? Or lead an attack? Seems like a faulty plan from the start. Broken Star should have just stayed put in ThunderClan and been a good little boy. They fought to keep him safe from WindClan and ShadowClan. He's just ungrateful to turn on them, don't you think? But Broken Star was a cat who wanted others to follow him. Not in admiration, but in fear. That's never good. The scene that my sister Rachel's going to be drawing today is of Graystripe leaving Fireheart all alone in ThunderClan, so that he can join RiverClan, the clan of his kid's deceased mother. I'll read this scene to you now. It's on pages 309 through 311 of Forest of Secrets.
You were right. I can't give up my kids. Sudden joy flooded through Fireheart. Graystripe had changed his mind. They could take his kids home and face any threat from RiverClan, whatever it might be. Then his heart froze as Graystripe went on. I'm going with them. They're all I have left of Silverstream. She told me to take care of them. I'd die if I was parted from them. Fireheart stared at him, his mouth dropping open. What? You can't! He gasped. You belong to ThunderClan! Graystripe shook his head. Not anymore. They don't want me. Not since they found out about me in Silverstream. They'll never trust me again. I don't even know if I want them to trust me anymore. I don't think I've got any clan loyalty left. His words clutched at Fireheart's belly, like the claws of an enemy, trying to tear it into shreds. Graystripe, he whispered. But what about me? I want you there. I trust you with my life. I'd never betray you. Graystripe's yellow eyes were brimming with sorrow. I know, he murmured. No cat ever had such a friend as you. I'd give my life up for you. You know that. Then stay in ThunderClan. I can't. That's the only thing I can't do for you. I belong with my kids. And they belong in RiverClan. Oh, Fireheart. I'm being torn in two! Fireheart pressed close to him, licking his ear and feeling the trembling that racked through his friend's powerful body. They had been through so much together. Graystripe had been the first clan cat that he'd ever spoken to, as a kitty pet lost in the woods. He'd been his first friend in ThunderClan. They had trained together and became warriors together. They had hunted in the hot days of Greenleaf when the air was filled with the scent and murmuring of bees, and through the bitter leaf bare where the whole world was frozen. Together they discovered the truth about Tiger Claw, and had risked Blue Star's anger to do it. And now, it was all coming to an end. But worst of all, Fireheart could not find the words to argue with his friend. It was true that ThunderClan still mistrusted the Grey Warrior for his love of Silverstream, and they showed no sign that they would fully accept his kits. If they had to fight to keep them, then it would only be for the honor of the clan. Fireheart could see no future for his clan or the kits in ThunderClan. At last, Greystripe moved away and went back to the call of the kits. They stumbled up to him, mewling in tiny, high-pitched voices. "It's time," he mewed softly to Fireheart. "I'll see you at the next gathering. It won't be the same." Greystripe held his gaze for a long moment. "No, it won't be the same." Then he turned and carried one of the kits down the shore to the stepping stones, leaping over the gaps with the kit gripped safely by its scruff. On the opposite bank, a gray shape slipped out of the reeds and stood waiting while Greystripe returned for the second kit. Fireheart recognized Mistyfoot, Silverstream's best friend. He knew that she would love these kits as much as her own, but no cat could feel more strongly for Greystripe than Fireheart had done. For 4 long seasons. Never again. His heart was crying. No more patrols. No more play fights, or sharing tongues in the den after a long day of hunting. No more laughter shared, or dangers faced together. It's over. There was nothing he could do or say. He was watching helplessly as Greystripe and the second kit reached the far riverbank. Mistyfoot touched noses with the Grey Warrior, and then bent to sniff the kits. With unspoken agreement, she and Greystripe each picked up a kit, and all 4 cats disappeared into the reeds.
Doesn't Greystripe realize that Silverstream is dead now, and that he's not gonna have any friends in RiverClan? It would have been better for him to raise his kits in ThunderClan, with more of a support system. But no, of course Greystripe doesn't think logically like that. Oh well, the kits get some quality time with their grandpa Crooked Star. And Fireheart is now left all alone, the new deputy of ThunderClan, and literally has no friends. Well, there's Running Wind, but he's not gonna last much longer. What is it with being Fireheart's friend and either leaving or dying? Seriously, almost every cat he's ever had a connection with in his life leaves him either by dying or leaving the clan. Ravenpaw left to be a barn cat, Greystripe went to be a spy for ThunderClan and RiverClan, Yellowfang dies in the fire, Whitestorm dies, Running Wind dies, Bluestar goes crazy and then dies, and Spotted Leaf died twice! Fireheart is seriously unlucky. I'd love to hear in the comment section down below what you think about Greystripe leaving Fireheart, just as he's starting one of the hardest callings ever, Deputy.